Hey friends, I'm Isoellen, and this is Isoellen Writes Stories for Adults. Um, First thing out is I am going to read chapter 1 from Blue Bloods, which is my new story that I'm working on, among many other projects that are unfinished. I'm sorry. I am. I really am. I can't help myself. So, Blue Blood is set in the world of Claiming Starlight, which was published and is currently unpublished. And you can't get it anywhere. So if you don't have it, I'm sorry. I think you might be able to buy a paperback of it on Amazon. I'm not sure. I'm going through a little author thing where I'm getting my rights back and going to be publishing all my content on my own. It's taking forever. And so I'm in process with that. So Claiming Starlight is not available. I'm going to write or post a little introduction for Blue Bloods somewhere here, maybe below this audio, maybe in a whole nother post. I'm not quite sure how that's going to look. Also, as I am reading, you might hear the dog. Yes, I got to get more comfortable. I'm not quite comfortable here. Hold on. Okay. How's that for real life? You might hear the dog. You might hear the front door open. You might hear people come in and out. Yes, I know we are totally unprofessional, which is why I know nobody is ever going to steal and repost this audio somewhere because it's going to be bad. Okay. Can I just say up front, it's going to be bad. I want you to come into this story and my reading with very low expectations. And if you just hold on with me for a couple minutes, as I go along, you can see, maybe raise them a little. I don't know, but we're going to, as far as production quality, please keep your expectations low. Okay, I have to open the window. I am reading this directly. This is my rough draft. It is the first time I have read it out loud. I will probably find mistakes as I read, and I'm reading it from my rough draft in Scrivener. I've had Scrivener for almost 5 years now, and I've just started using it. And let me tell you one of the reasons why I didn't use it. I like to import and post my rough drafts all over the place. I put them on Wattpad. I put them on Ream. I might put them here. Who knows where I'm going to put them? But getting them out of Scrivener is a little bit of a pain in the butt if I don't I don't know how to import just one chapter, or not import, compile one chapter without all the notes and have it neat so that I can just upload to someplace easy. I can copy and paste, but I don't necessarily know how to make my compiles look halfway decent. So those two things I don't like. I haven't quite figured those out yet. I'm kind of if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm a start before I know how to do anything without reading the directions type of person. That said, those things I don't like. What I do like is being able to separate chapters, move chapters around, delete chapters, add chapters. Love that. Also, the notes and some synopsis section. Love that. Now they have the whole corkboard thing. It's in a different window. Unless I can keep it open in the same window, it really doesn't do me any good. Maybe if I get another monitor again. But right now I just have the one laptop, which incidentally has a crack across the screen. I need a new one. It was a very nice laptop. Had I known. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. Do you want to hear the story or not? Okay. I wish I could stop and pause. And take a breath before I start and make sure everything's going to be okay before I start. But, I can't because I am recording directly to Substack. This is a live recording. Join me for the live recording now of Isoellen Writes Stories for Adults as she reads Blue Blood by Isoellen. This is a choose what happens next story, but we're not there yet. I'll tell you when we get there. My scarred knuckles worked Mrs. P's honey wheat dough bread in a rhythm of push and fold, turn, push and fold, turn. I put my entire body into it, watching the dough move, ignoring the scar lines on my wrists, exposed with my pulled back sleeves. My short, stubby pinky fingers curled inward as I worked. I was missing the tips of both of them, and they were extra sensitized. I didn't like how anything felt touching them. My father raised me as his special miracle girl, and when I was 10, he cashed in on that promise. He told me that if I didn't let him cut off the tip of my left pinky, monsters would come and kill him, and I would be taken away to live in their slave pens. I let him do it, willingly, grateful I could save us. I could still see his face, the fever in his eyes, the way his forehead wrinkled in urgency. I believed him. 6 months later, the other pinky tip was cut off to protect us from the same monsters. Although I carried a lot of scars now, those first 2 bits of bone and flesh, lost before I knew how to hate, still hurt more than all the others. That man sired me on a crackhead he'd taken in off the street. He'd known she was a latent witch. Her child, his daughter, would be the perfect tool for a sorcerer obsessed with power. A double whammy sacrifice. A double whammy blood sacrifice. It was hard to look at my fingers and not remember that earnest, trusting, stupid little girl who had willingly given up bits of herself for her father's blood spells. Push, fold, turn, take a breath. Ugh. Relax my shoulders, stretch my neck. I looked out the front shop windows into the jungle of swamp that surrounded us. There was an outline of my reflection there, framed by red and white gingham curtains, wearing a grim smile and swaying with the work. Sometimes I didn't recognize that person. I'd changed a lot since coming to this red house in the middle of nowhere. Too much of Mrs. P's good food had softened my former underfed appearance. My lips were less pinched. Since the binding gaze placed on me wouldn't let me cut my black hair, it had grown out, thick and heavy. I'd always wore it in a braid or 3 piled on top of my head to combat the humidity and heat. The climate here also darkened my skin with an unexpected southern tan. If it wasn't for my 2 large, light gray eyes and thick eyebrows, I wouldn't have recognized myself. But those were my dad's eerie eyes and his thick, broad, caterpillar eyebrows. My idle mind had wandered again, leaking toward memories like water pulled down a drain. I wished I could concentrate more on the task of kneading dough. It was wonderfully physical. Some people said it was relaxing. I never relaxed. I tried counting how many times I folded and turned a handful. I kept losing track. Mrs. P said I wasn't very good at this. She was right. I wasn't. We still baked every loaf I've kneaded separately. Sometimes she let me eat them. Sometimes she fed them to Rufus, the giant alligator who visited at her back door. How are you doing there, dearie? Mrs. P asked, coming up from behind me. I heard the wheels on her cart and smelled the wild raspberries and the tarts she'd taken out of her oven before I saw her. Doing good, I answered, and broke off a hunk of the ball in my hand and stretched it to show her how it was coming along. It was still sticky and didn't really stretch at all. Are you then? Have you got enough flour? Last time you said I had too much. That was last time. This time use more flour and less worry. If you keep kneading your anxiety into that bread, it's not going to rise. You said it didn't rise because I didn't knead it enough. Just so, she snorted and hopped up onto a stool so that she could manage a huge pan of baked goods. I can do that when I finish, Mrs. Piddlehinton. She didn't like me to shorten her name if I said it out loud, though I thought it was a huge mouthful. I can do it now, dearie. The tray was so big that I couldn't see her head as she moved it. The brownies I'd read about from the books my father used were small, willowy, light-bodied creatures with hair everywhere. Mrs. P was short and hairy, but she was neither willowy or light-bodied. As round as a basketball, she had short arms, stubby legs, and no neck. When I watched her walk from the back, she waddled from side to side as if she had to rock to gain momentum. How she managed to pick up, hold, and move a tray that was 1.5 feet along one edge, I couldn't figure out. The woman couldn't touch her hands together to clap. It was magic. I'd grown so accustomed to it here that I didn't feel it. In her own natural space, the air was so thick with her magic and that of her landlord, a griffin, that I couldn't pick through the constant mist that soaked everything. She put the tray on the counter. I turned back to the dough. I saw her move out of the corner of my eye, and when I turned to look back at her, half of the tarts were lined up on a fresh prepared tray ready for customers. The hairy back of her brown hand pushed a hand-sized raspberry treat toward me on a delicate, old bone china saucer with a chipped edge. I'll do the morning dishes as soon as I have the bread put up for its second rise. I've already set cinnamon and nutmeg to it. I'll clean up after them then. Mrs. P chuckled. Her 2 daughters would get sudsy water everywhere except on the dirty dishes, and she knew it. There wasn't much Mrs. P would let me do in her bakery. I begged her to let me help, give me work. There had to be some way to repay her, earn my place here, keep from becoming indebted to her or her landlord. She was a blue blood. To most of her kind, the devil was in the details. All things had to stay equal. Though she was a kind brownie and a servant at heart, exchanges were her language. I didn't have anything to offer her, and the rent was coming due. My first night here, I'd given her everything I had left of the jewelry stash I used to buy and trade my way from Hyde, where I'd left my father. I'd just been so grateful and bewitched by her safe, cozy little place in the swamp that I'd emptied my pockets without thinking. A wise human would have started small, offered something like a good button or a ballpoint pen. Exhausted and sick from traveling in the wet, coughing my lungs out, I had not been a wise human. I didn't know where I would go next if she kicked me out. Try the tart now, dearie, please, won't you? I did something different. What? You didn't add magic, did you? To strawberries. It makes them taste burned. Spirits? Not this time. It's still coffee time. Red pepper? Oh! Her arms waved and her eyebrows bobbed. That's a good idea, I groaned. Try this batch first. Mrs. P was an excellent cook, but her experiments could be tricky. Sometimes she forgot that I didn't have the extra benefits of being a magical creature with a strong constitution. I picked up the tart and took a careful nibble. Her crust was always perfect. This was her biscuit crust, which had a buttery, cookie texture. It went beautifully with the raspberry, but then I bit into a dab of unexpected white filling. It wasn't cream or cream cheese, but something like it that made me think of the two. It had a light sweet cream flavor with the texture of soft mozzarella. Oh, I liked it. Mrs. P. preened. Nothing like a good Irish milk cow, is there? I filled my mouth with the rest of the tart. We were in the middle of a swamp. The griffin, Thomas, brought her a cow 2 weeks ago, telling her that if she kept it away from Rufus, she could keep it. They were great friends, but even Thomas was beholden to the blue blood nature. She'd helped him escape from the chains of an enemy. Her bakery, his protection, gifts like a cow, were part of a life debt. I did not want to owe Mrs. P. a life debt. I looked at half the tart she was going to transfer to the other rack and wondered if I should take another. The raspberry creamy cookiness of it had melted in my mouth. They wouldn't last long. The shop door jangled, distracting me from the important decision of trying another tart. I swiped a strand of black frizz with my eyes, my gaze snagging on the shadow filling the doorway. The morning sun lit up the space around him with a bruised peach halo, creating a shadow across the warped floorboards of the shop. My breath caught. Every stranger was a potential threat. Every shadow could be my father, or worse, another like him, come to get me. Well, that seems to have been pulled off reasonably well. The dog was only whining a bit in the background. That is Chapter 1, Blue Blood by Isoellen. Book 2 in the Apocalypse Keys Claiming Starlight world. Margo is not related to Sophie in any way, shape, or form. However, she will be at some point in time, if the readers vote, possibly going back to where Sophie is located. Sophie and Micah are located. So this is a choose what happens next smut story, adventure story, romance story. The first 3 chapters are now posted on my Ream for free to the public. You don't have to do anything. You can go and read them, see if you like them, see if you're interested. Check them out. If you like them, you can follow. You can continue to read for free if you follow. If you subscribe, subscribers read first, and they also get to vote on the what happens next. I traditionally don't have a ton of subscribers who vote, so, you could help me decide. You could be the one person, the 2 people, the one reader who cares about where this story is going. Let me tell you that I'm going to take it and open up the possibilities to take this story in ways that I have never taken a story before. So I hope you will check it out. I am also probably going to read chapter 2 and 3 here on Substack, and we'll see if this is going to work out and if I should continue reading. If you are listening to this podcast somewhere else, thank you for listening. Please come and subscribe here on Substack, and then you can get all the updates in your inbox directly. I appreciate you if you followed me from Isoellen Stories on the other platform that I was on, which was a fantastic platform. I just wasn't using it enough, and I couldn't afford to pay for something I wasn't using. So I appreciate you guys more than you know. Your support, just coming here and realizing, oh my gosh, I've got like 6 people are following me and subscribed and want my content. I adore you. I'm so thankful for you. So thank you. Have a great day, and we shall chat soon.